holiday. They ain't holding no chain.
Gordon front back comfort, can't wait to get paid. Bars and umbrella sunbox, paper is down the team.
Four cars side by side in a wild friend ride with the roar of the engines leaving all doubts behind. As the wheels spin on, chasing dreams we can't hide. That's car life where legends never die.
All right. What is up, everybody? It's good to be back with you again here on the Four Wide Podcast. I'm joined by my longtime friend, Cole. Cole, how are you today, my man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How about you?
Oh, doing well. Doing well. And hey, we don't have the other two usual guys on, but that is okay because we got a much better guest tonight who I'm much more excited to talk to than I am them other fools. Super excited about this. ARCA Menards driver Austin Walters is joining us. Austin, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been listening to the last few episodes and I'm liking what I'm hearing. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, awesome. We're super glad to have you. And I just want to, be respectful of your time and just want to ask you just a couple intro questions like, how did you get your start into racing? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what your ARCA schedule looks like this year or any other schedules you might be racing with.
So I actually got into racing because my father went to buy an RV and the salesman, Jesse Smith, he asked my dad about starting a race team after they got to talking about NASCAR in the back of a camper. So they ended up going and buying a mini stock in North Carolina. And my dad drove it in 2019. We got it in 2018. He drove it in 2019. And then in 2020, they let me take over. And ever since then, I've just been grinding out at the local level, Kingsport Speedway, Lonesome Pine. This year, I'll be running some Newport, hopefully. For ARCA, we're not entirely sure how many races I'll be running, just depending on funding. It's hard to come by these days, but we're working hard day and night. We're looking at Tucson, Colorado, Bristol, and Phoenix in October. And then besides that, I'll be running late models at Kingsport, Newport, maybe some Lonesome Pine. And I'd like to hit that Memphis IHRA race.
I was going to ask too, with developing a part-time schedule, I know you mentioned something about funding, right? Is funding the main driver on determining where you race at and who you race with at a level like ARCA? Talk a little bit about that. How do you select your races that you choose?
Some races are cheaper than others to run. And I hate that you even have to say that. I just hate the economics of racing nowadays. And I'm grinding it out on social media, trying to get the followers and maybe make people like me and just grow a brand so I can go to these companies and give them my analytics, demographic, and build partnerships there, which I've been able to build a few so far, and it's getting better every year. But big tracks like Phoenix and Bristol are going to cost more to race, like a decent amount more. And littler tracks like Tucson or Elko, Berlin, those aren't as expensive. And then travel and distance also plays a big factor in that as well.
I've been following you on your social media, especially where you followed us back. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. So I seen a reel that it showed you working on a car. You said you were like a mechanic by day. Is that your trait, your regular job when you're not racing?
Yes, sir. I'm a mechanic for one of my sponsors, Mr. Electric. I work on their fleet vans and as well as some flipper cars and his personal vehicles as well.
That's awesome. So when something feels off with a race car when you're driving it, are you able to diagnose it yourself most of the time? Is it more like being a mechanic? Do you have a different mindset when you're helping set up your race cars?
I think most definitely. I can't speak for everyone, but it seems like most drivers these days in the top 3 series probably could not work on the car or at least choose not to. And from the crew chiefs that I've been talking to this off season, they find it a great trait to be able to diagnose a car like that and says that it's slightly hard to come by. But I've always owned and worked on my own cars. Me and my dad are the only 2 people on my late model team. Sometimes we have a little bit of help, but setting up the cars, a lot of times this season at Kingsport especially, we'll unload 6/10 off the pace or half a second, and I'll get in the car, make 2 laps, and within 2 laps, I know exactly what to change. Pull down pit road, he'll change it, we'll gain 2/10, 3/10, and then put her on the pole or qualify first or second in practice or qualifying. So I think that's one of my strongest points when I come into teams is working on the cars and being able to tell a crew chief what to do instead of just saying car's really, really loose on exit or tight on exit. I'll just say raise the track bar half an inch or drop it half an inch, put it around in the right front. And the people that I've talked to said that's a really good trait to have.
Owners, people pick up on that kind of stuff. So that's really cool to hear. And I know that you're talking a little bit about partnerships and sponsorships. So during the season, we'll just say like last year, for instance, I know it's a little bit different because the funding needed for ARCA and what you're doing locally on the grassroots level is totally different. It's like different ballparks for the most part. But
Yeah.
how much time do you spend on racing during a racing season, and how much is it about keeping an opportunity live through reaching out to different companies and trying to grow partnerships?
It's a constant thing. Sending emails every single day or DMs every single day. Content is a big thing. I need to get a videographer. I'm looking into that this season. A lot of people that do have a lot of followers have so much content and videos. It's like everything they do is on camera. And we go to the racetrack and just focus on putting that car in victory lane. My dad's not a huge fan of getting the camera out or the phone out, but through the partnerships and securing a little bit of funding little by little throughout the year, allowing us to buy tires or helping on travel or fuel, he's starting to pick up on the content stuff and be more acceptable to the camera coming out. It's just a constant struggle every single day.
Especially being, a two-person team for the most part, like you were
Yeah.
describing. You're pretty much having to do all the front load work. So I definitely understand trying to find different people for your team to help grow not just your brand, even yourself as a person.
And kind of like when I reached out to you, Austin, I've noticed that on your social media, it seems like your faith plays a vital role into who you are.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to know, how does your faith help you in your racing journey? Like, I'm sure it's super hard to live it out sometimes, especially like if it's a tough day, the sponsorships might not be coming as quick as what you want, or if somebody on track is really making you mad and you seem like you're justifiably right and want to be really angry with them. How does your faith help you in your racing journey? Like, talk a little bit about that.
It's been growing every day lately, securing funding for ARCA. It's just such a tall task to ask for the amount of money that you have to ask for and to make it worthwhile. And there's a lot of bad days, a lot of no's, hundreds of no's. The number one thing that I went back to is the plan. Like, God has a plan for my life and for all of our lives. And anxiety, he says to cast your anxieties on him. And a verse I like is to not worry about tomorrow, for it'll worry about itself. So scripture and just studying the word and praying has helped me to not have a meltdown or freak out. And sometimes it does get hard, and you just got to stop and think for a minute, pray and read. And I don't really get mad at people too often. I mean, maybe internally, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been in a fight at the racetrack. I feel like that is one thing that I wouldn't probably do, and that could ruin your reputation. And I just don't think it's right we're racing, we're having fun. It's an honor to be out there. I mean, I was a kid sitting in the stands watching. I don't think it's right to just get mad at people and be a fool just over racing. And like I was telling my agent helping me get sponsors to not stress as well, because at the end of the day, this life is temporary and we're going to go somewhere else whenever we die. And that's what we need to prepare for through this life. And racing, as important as it is to me, it's not everything.
Yeah, well, amen to that. We fully agree. All four of us are really believers in Jesus Christ. So that was something that I thought was really appealing about you. And I love when Christians who are in sports are super bold about it, because I do think it's really cool that God gives you a platform, and He does say
Yeah.
to spiritual pop, but if you're faithful in the little, you'll be faithful in the much, right? And I absolutely that you seem to be doing that, and I just want to thank you for that, because I think it's super inspiring for the fans. And I think one thing that's really not talked a lot about is a lot of NASCAR fans are Christians, right? And so it
Yeah.
ability factor, because I know there's so much conversation around like which drivers can be relatable and stuff like that. So I just feel like the simple things like faith, how you go about your persona at the track, it can really make a big difference just from a fan's perspective. So I really appreciate you going into that. And so I know obviously your faith is super important to you and that drives you. One thing I did want to ask you is, who would you consider to be a racing hero? Who have you looked up to in your racing career? Do you have like a favorite cup driver, Do you have a favorite competitor that you feel like has made you better throughout the years? Talk a little on that.
I'd say my racing hero has to be my dad because I really don't, not that I can think of, I've not looked up to anybody much. I mean, a little bit, but really my dad. He started just a year before me, but as soon as he started, he was kicking butt, and we do everything together. We're best friends, bestest friend in the whole world. I've watched him win a lot of races, and he carries himself really well. I try to base my demeanor off of my dad's, mostly level headed. But he's my hero, and he helps me, and the wins that I do have all came because of him helping set up the car, and he's just an awesome dude. As far as people I've raced with, I would say Greg Bohannon at Kingsport in 2024. We're racing for the Super Street Championship, and I'd missed the first 3 races, and he won the first 3, and we battled. Him or I won every race that year, and there were some heated battles and some tempers flaring or whatever there with door banging or incidents happening. We raced it out every week, battling for the win. I ended up tying for the championship in 2024, but it was just a blast. Even though there's a rivalry and you're not excited whenever you see their trailer pull into the racetrack. You're like, man, I'm going to have to race Greg today, and that sucks because he's
Yeah.
going to be fast. And we have had some run-ins this year. It kind of was hard in that year, and I hated to lose the championship to a tie because he won the first 3. He had more wins than me. But once it was over in 2025, he didn't really race there. And I was like, I never thought I'd say I miss Greg, but I think he really made me a better driver, and having that just grit and competitive edge rivalry just helped push us both to be better drivers and learn to set the car up better.
Absolutely. I've got a couple more questions, but I want to throw it to Cole to even the time out a little bit.
He says, I don't want to hog all the time, even though, Blake likes to talk sometimes.
Just a little bit.
I do too.
If you listen to the podcast, Blake likes to talk a little bit. He gets on his little tangents sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's all good. That's what it's for, man. There are a lot of people, grassroots, they have those normal jobs. Like you said, you're a mechanic. They chase racing on the side. They work their 9 to 5, even later than that overtime. Then once they're done, they go to a race shop and they work on the race car till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Then they get up to go to work, sleeping an hour or so. So how much of yourself do you see in those types of driver/fans, especially now that you're looking to grow your platform, moving on to, ARCA would be considered a step up for a lot of people. I don't know how it is for you I know you're looking forward to it, obviously, but I don't know if you view your late model career on the same level as ARCA, or you kind of like put it up a little bit because it's got like the NASCAR name to it.
I think it's definitely up. I mean, I'm itching to get onto a big track like Phoenix or Bristol, and so we had debated possibly selling a lot of our stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it, just to run this Tucson race.
Wow.
And we had been talking about it, and if it comes to it, I think we probably will do that. But that's how much it means to me. I mean, we were talking, and I was like, what really is running Kingsport every season from now on? Like, Kingsport's just 30 minutes away, and I'm next to 30 minutes from Bristol Motor Speedway. And I was like, well, like, what's it going to do for me running late models the next few years? Which I hate to say that because as a kid and growing up, going to the racetrack, I told everybody, like, I would do anything to sit in a late model or just touch one with my finger. Like, I thought they were so bad to the bone. And I've been racing them for about 5 years now. But I just got a house. I got married recently.
Congratulations.
And say this or not, but I have a baby girl coming in September. That's a bombshell drop. Not really anyone knows.
Nice.
So we figured it's now or never. This season's we gotta pull it off this year, because after this, I mean, it's gonna be hard. And even we really quit talking to sponsors about late models this year. I was gonna self-fund my late model and just work overtime and focus on ARCA sponsors. But now it's getting close to the season, and I have a lot of bills due for the late model, stuff I need to get done. and they're not looking too good. But that's the thing I was talking about, faith. I'm not going to freak out. I'll just do what I can and control what I can and leave the rest up to Jesus. But it's just been a crazy off season. There's a lot going on, and I'm trying to make so much happen in such a little window of time.
Yeah, my wife and I, we're expecting our first kid in March, so I can empathize a little bit with the got a lot coming up for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
Congratulations.
oh well, thank you. It's kind of like one of those feelings you're excited, but I've never been more terrified in my life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with, mention the stresses of just normal life. I think that does resonate with a lot of normal people and fans. I mean, a lot of people are paying bills just like everybody else, but they still race on the side, and they know going to the racetrack that they're not going to profit from that. They do it because it's the love of the game, right? It's what people
Yeah.
call it, like baseball or whatever. But when it comes to racing, it literally is for the love of the game for a lot of times because you are never leaving a track for the most part with any sort of profit. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
Even if you win, even winning a race, you're still losing money.
My uncle used to drive local late models here where I live, and I mean, you might be able to pay for maybe a couple things of gas if you win a race. That's basically where they were at because this track didn't have a large budget, and they wouldn't win a huge amount of money anytime that he
Yeah.
won. And I mean, to be fair, it was hard to win at that racetrack because you had
Mhm.
people outspending your budget like outrageously. And you knew that they were leaving the racetrack and they definitely weren't making any money. But
Yeah.
that's one thing that I think a lot of grassroots people can find, not just only in you, for the most part, in the ARCA series, because the podcast sponsored Brayton Laster.
Mhm.
And that's one guy, if you want to ever talk about sponsorship, that's a guy that really goes after sponsorship.
Yeah.
He goes all in. With him, it's the same way, right? Like he grinds his 9 to 5, and then he did full time ARCA last year, and he talked about how tough that was. Get back from the racetrack, and then you gotta work your 9 to 5, and then he would go to the race shop when he could. But with grassroots racing like yourself, you are going to the race shop and you are working on that race car. You don't have a choice because it's just you and your dad, right?
Yeah.
So I find that really inspiring. And I think that a lot of people on the ARCA level are like that. I kind of view it as like the blue collar NASCAR series as of right now. Because I mean, you even once you get to the truck level, it used to be considered that blue collar. You think people like Ron Hornaday, some old school drivers. But now it's just like you said, it's a money game at the end of the day. It's
Yeah.
whoever has the most money, that's who's going to get the rides.
I hate it because there's a lot of people at the local tracks I'm racing that I would put my house down on saying they could win a truck or Xfinity Series championship, and I mean it truthfully. I mean, like Greg and Tristan Barnes, those are real drivers, and Keith Helton at Kingsport, they're all the best of the best drivers. But it all comes down to money, and I just hate it. And even the people that run the lower series, like the Pure Fours or the Crown Vics, I mean, they're good drivers too. I've seen some pretty good Crown Vic drivers. But I just hate how much of a role money plays in it, and I wish it could go back to the old days where someone like me and Dad could run a cup car in the '70s or the '80s, maybe.
Just going to ask about his perspective on the Ram trucks has been. I would imagine that you've heard about how they have the
Mhm.
open opportunity, kind of doing that throwback to the past, right? You're winning the seat for most of the part because most of those rides are self-funded by Rams, so they don't have to worry about anything. It's just they're trying to get the top drivers possible. I would imagine stuff like that as a younger person, that probably motivates you even more, right? As a driver, where you're seeing that there's opportunities like that out there now, but of course, limited seats. But seeing something like that, it kind of opens the door for a lot of people, like you were mentioning, your grassroots drivers that may not have a initial chance of gathering a quarter of the funding of what they need.
Yeah, I'm so happy for Minnie Tyrell. He's an awesome driver. I've been watching him in the Cars Tour for a few years. I applied to the program. Sadly, I didn't get in, but I think what would have helped me on that is maybe running the Cars Tour. But the car store, you're about paying for a truck season whenever you're going car store racing. So sadly, that's not in the cards. But I would like to make 2 starts at Newport in the car store. They're either going there once or twice. But I want to run the IHRA race at Newport and maybe the car store race at Newport. We looked at a new chassis. There was a great deal on a 2022 chassis, and we were going to get it. Like 4 days later, we were getting ready to go get it, and then we found out about the baby, so that got shut down. And not a lot of people know, but the car that I run at Kingsport's actually a 1998 with a 2007 front clip on it, Townsend front clip. So she's probably about the oldest dinosaur out there, but you can still make old cars fast. It just takes a lot more work.
Dang, I was born in 1998. You calling me a dinosaur right now?
No, I'm sorry. I'm a 2003 kid.
No, you're good, man. I totally understand.
Compared to what's out there, it's a dinosaur.
Fair enough. All right, Blake, man, go ahead.
Telephone from '98. It's a dinosaur. I want to ask from
It's relative.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to ask, like, from a driver's perspective, what do you think could be done better to help it not be such a money grab, but to get that talent level? Like, obviously, we've talked about like some things like Ram trucks, like what they're doing, but just from a driver's perspective, what do you think could be done better to elevate drivers who might not have a corporate backing but have the talent if they just found the right opportunity? What are a few things you think that could be done better in that sense?
I think it comes down to the owners. Just, I mean, in my eyes, like if you're gonna own the race team, then like it'd be nice if they'd put more money forwards to go racing with their equipment. But the drivers are pretty much paying for that car to go to the racetrack. But I understand the teams are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to own that equipment. And just operating it sadly falls mostly on the driver. I don't really know what we could do to change that except change the owners' minds, or maybe I think payouts. I don't think the ARCA payouts are like super huge, but I think payouts and just I'm actually curious to see what ideas you guys might have for that, because I don't really have many.
Yeah, I think, and I know the word lawsuit in NASCAR talk is like a dead horse at this point, right? And it's like you get tired of hearing about it to a point. But I feel like as big as what TV is, I feel like that could help the lower series more. And I'll give you a perfect example. Like Cole said, we helped sponsor Brayton Laster, did just a couple like co-sponsorship for a couple races for people who, granted, we're not a big corporation by any means, but people who have like invested into the ARCA series, we'd like to watch it on TV when we can, right? And I saw where he and I were at the Southern 500, and they have an ARCA race going on during the Southern 500, and I'm just like, well, what do you think the fans are going to watch, right? And so I feel like
Yeah.
that was just an observation from last year that I was like, maybe NASCAR could do a little bit better job of taking care of ARCA just in some ways like that. And like I saw where during like the Daytona Xfinity race, there was an ARCA race going on. And it's like you got Daytona and Xfinity CWs doing a fantastic job on the coverage last year. And it's like you're almost I feel like it's limited because what you're saying, the people at the top are the ones limiting it. It almost seems like from a fan's perspective. And I hate that as somebody who has personally invested money into the ARCA series and hardcore fans, right? I want to see it all, right? Because I know ARCA is a super good launching pad for, you see people like Jesse Love doing well, Butterbean last year doing being able to get some of these top notch rides. And I just wish that they would prioritize like ARCA. I think another way too is when like they're doing the fan rewards. If NASCAR owns ARCA and it's televised, why not do fan rewards for ARCA? You know what I'm saying? Because if you've got who are tuning into ARCA and are willing to like open an app and press like click and then boom, you get 50 points because you watched an ARCA race, I feel like that should get rewarded, right? That's just a few.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you, Cole?
I wish they would promote it more.
Yeah.
Like it would be a lot easier to get partners if ARCA had a bigger platform than it does currently. Because I mean, the truck series, you're paying about the same thing. The truck series has a lot more going for it whenever you're talking to potential partners.
Yeah. And I feel like I see like a lot of ARCA races are on like FS, right? And it's like to me, I don't even have FS2, right? And it's like, and because I feel like I could pull up the Fox Sports app and watch a 5 minute free clip until I have to put in my TV
Yeah.
provider, right? And so I don't know. Yeah, advertising it more and like having like a tagline, like for O'Reilly Auto Parts, when Xfinity was doing it, it was like names are made here. And then, that's something they
Yeah.
push. Something for the ARCA series, I think would be really good to get that hardcore fan invested. Because I feel like your nominal fans probably won't watch ARCA, but your hardcore fans will, and they're going to follow those drivers from ARCA to trucks to Xfinity to Cup, and that's where I feel like that connection to the fan really starts. Is if you have fans who watch people from ARCA all the way to get up to their Cup career, there's that even deeper connection, which to me I think would be like more merchandise sales, more sponsorship, more
Yeah.
word of mouth advertising, and I think sometimes a disconnect is like, well, why can't it be that simple, right?
I agree.
It makes me wonder if they would consider moving ARCA from like a Fox Sports 2 to being on like Flow Racing, because most of your grassroots people, most people have Flow Racing because they want to keep up with, local tracks that do broadcast, the Cars Tour, they're big on there. I mean, the Chili Bowl, one of the biggest events all year for racing in general, is on there. Snowball Derby. I
I
would,
think they are going to be broadcast to Flow like Tucson is. I think anything that's not like at a major NASCAR track, those are FS1 this year, and then everything else that's not a NASCAR track will be on Flow Racing. But I've had trouble selling Flow Racing, but I am a subscriber and I do love it.
Absolutely. But I feel like if they kept it, if they moved even like the NASCAR tracks to Flow Racing, that way, like even with the O'Reilly series now, Xfinity last year, being on the CW channel, you knew what channel it was going to be on. You didn't have to second guess it. You knew it was going to be on the CW channel. Time might obviously change, but for even the casual fans, that does a lot because they don't have to sit there and like, oh, is it on NBC? Is it on Fox? Is it on Discovery Channel? Obviously
Yeah.
not, but just like they're searching for the right channel. And I feel like a subscription service, it does wonders for consistency, but the bad thing is if you take it off of cable, people freak out because they're like, I don't want to have to pay for another streaming service like Flow Racing, which as I subscribe to it as well, admittedly, it's pretty expensive, but when you look at it from, a whole year, it's not too terribly bad, but it's still a lot of money to just watch racing at the end of the day. But it's unlimited racing too. So I mean, you can watch literally boats racing if you want to. It's on
Yeah.
there. But maybe he talked about this charter system so much last year, but even if they were able to do a seriously like low down version of the charter system in ARCA so that these owners, like for instance, like a Wayne Peterson, right, who's been around in the sport forever doing racing, there would be some additional revenue for him and other owners where they can self-fund that car even more, like you were saying, where they're not having to rely on solely the driver and sponsorship money. And I'm sure that's a headache for NASCAR to even think about on these lower series when they had to deal with it on the cup level
No, yeah.
so drastically with, I mean, pretty much legal proceedings and everything. But I mean, it's something that it can be done. It's just, will they go the extra step to do it is the question. And as a fan, I hope that they do because I think more racing ultimately on any weekend's great. I mean, you think everybody wants these speed weeks to come back for like the whole week of Daytona. Well, I mean, ARCAs would be included in that, and you want to make sure that that's still main stage. It's not just scooted off to the side. So that's my opinion with it. I don't know if it resonates with anybody, but that's where my brain's at, I guess, at the end of the day.
I think ARCA struggles with star power. Like,
Absolutely.
the top 5 cars are, expensive and they're fast. And those people, the top 5 will have bigger names in them. But then you got like the rest of the field, like the gap on speed is so huge that I think it draws people away. But I love that people like Willie Mullins and those guys and Braden Laster, they're doing it the right way. I mean, the way I'm going to be doing it, and I'm doing it right now. But I just think if they could maybe change the cars, I think that'd help.
Hmm.
Maybe do something to get the field closer together, and the races won't get so spread out, and they'll have more viewers and more in-person attendance. The in-person attendance really needs to be bumped up as well.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
because I think, and something that I will say on a positive note, what one thing from a fan's perspective that I do like Daytona, where they'll put the ARCA series with the Xfinity series, and it's like you can buy one ticket, but you have two races. It looked like with Daytona, at least that helps out a lot, just from a fan's perspective. I could be wrong on that, but it looked like that helped out when I know, like for Cole and I, at Charlotte last year, because ARCA would always be partnered up with the truck series on that Friday. I'd always try to get off work a little or get out of school, a little bit early, just to be able to watch the ARCA race. Because I'm the kind of guy, it's like, well, if I pay $35 for a ticket, I'm going to look at it as like, well, I got the ARCA race for $17.50, and I got the truck race for $17.50, right? And I get more bang for buck. I might as well go because I paid for it, right? And so I feel like
Yes.
opportunities like that could be really good. And I also see like at Charlotte, I feel like it gives opportunities. You're talking about star power for somebody like I think Grant Enfinger came down to the ARCA series and ran last year and did like a double header, and it's good for a fan to watch. Like, hey, who's this guy who might be running? Even though it's one of those, like, who's a guy who's in a top-notch ARCA equipment? Can he go up against a truck guy and be just as competitive? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where you get to say, hey, that guy like kicked that dude's butt, right? And it opens fans' eyes, right? And so I think stuff
Yeah.
like super super good, and I think that would be beneficial as well. And I do like what you said about making the cars closer, which I think is ironic because I completely agree with it. One of the biggest criticisms the Cup Series has is the cars are way too close. But I feel like in ARCA, you do need to bring them closer, right? And so it's kind of funny how the top series and the one of the lower series has two complete different approaches to it, right?
Yeah.
I think that would help because it is. I think there's a level of like sympathy if you see somebody at like a Bristol, and it's like I've heard a lot of criticism of like if a car's getting lapped on like lap 3 or something like that, right? I totally see what you're saying there. I'd be 100% in support of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to the past 3 or 4 Bristol races, and my buddy Dean Thompson for Bristol, he'll get us VIP passes. Like you said about you get to watch the ARCA race and the truck race afterwards. But that's one thing that we noticed at the race in person was just the disparity of people getting like lapped on lap 3, which I honestly don't even know. Like I know some people do it for points, which I understand that. Starting and stopping for points, or having 3 or 4 cars out there for points. But maybe like a minimum speed rule, or maybe the aero package as well for larger tracks to get them close like the next gen cars, and get the next gen cars like the ARCA cars.
What is the current aero package for the ARCA package right now? Like, what is it, like high downforce, low downforce, high drag, low drag?
I think it is high downforce, and I think the horsepower is like in the 600s, maybe like 630 or 670. I think it was 670. I think if you put the Cup guys in the ARCA cars, it'd be a pretty good show.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, somebody like a host of R get to go up against a Chastain in an ARCA car. I'd be all for that for
That would
sure.
be awesome. Or like
Yeah.
Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch going at it.
For sure. It would be interesting though if you put like someone, I hate to be that guy that'd be like, let's put Riley Herbst in, like, traditionally he was probably one of the slowest cars last year in good equipment. Put him in one of those ARCA cars that are, on the higher tier of funding, and then put someone like a Kyle Larson on like a mid tier car and
I'd
see
love
how
that.
that lines up. Because that would really tell you how the state of ARCA is. That would be a really good test, is take a driver that, you know, it's been self-proclaimed by multiple people that, Herbst has pretty good funding, a pretty good backing. Therefore, that's why he has such a good opportunity ahead of him. you take that away from him and you put them on pretty close to equal ground, how that would shake up. So
It'd be completely different. That's like the craziest thing about funding. I mean, I would love to see the whole Cup Series or Xfinity Series field flipped and take all the top-notch guys and champions, put them in the slower cars, and like I was telling a coworker about this, like there's only so much you can do whenever you have a slower car. Just like good drivers will make 20th place car run 15th or 12th or something, but like I've struggled with, you're driving a car and it will not turn or it's wrecking loose. And, they'll say, yeah, good drivers will finish a few spots better, but like you can't expect that car to win. Like it just doesn't have the speed in it. So I do think flipping the field or something, the fans would get a much bigger appreciation or maybe not think as highly, honestly, of like the Hendrick Motorsports guys, which I love Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing. But you'll see what difference it makes. I mean, what car Kyle Larson is driving will make a huge difference in where he finishes the race at.
definitely. Well, we have kept you a little bit past time here. I apologize about that, but we were just having such a good conversation. I got away from us, right? How can fans like us help support you? Is it, a social media follow? I mean, even if it comes down to like even like a small sponsorship or partnership, how much that means? What's a good way to support you the best way possible, ultimately, as a fan?
I think just social media follows and more than has to follow comments, engaging on the post. And I mean, I get a lot of DMs every day, which I love. I love taking time out of my day to talk to people that want to race or getting into it. And I like whenever people are straight up and just tell me like, what do you want to know or what do you want to see out of me or what is something you've always wanted to see behind the scenes. But I like whenever people message me or I could share my faith or just knowledge with people. Just engaging with social medias would help a ton. That's the number one thing that any brand's looking for. And I mean, every dollar helps on funding. We're piecing stuff together to fly to Phoenix or either Kern or Phoenix to at the race out west, which I live in Tennessee. So that's pretty expensive plane tickets. So we're just nickel and diamond selling what we can or taking any donations or whatever. One thing I pride myself on is companies I've worked with. You could give me $15,000 or you could give me $200 and I'm going to put the same amount of effort in to do all I can for your company. And, the money doesn't really matter on what you're getting.
That's a great outlook to have, especially for, there's a lot of lower small businesses and stuff, but a lot of smaller businesses want that opportunity to help drivers and to have such a open outlook where you're able to communicate and advertise, even if it's, like a show, a business or anything like that, is they just want to be, treated just the same way as someone else does, which it's hard to do when there's certain places that throw $30,000, $40,000, straight up sponsorship, and then
Yeah.
there's a little pop shop that can only afford like $150, but to them that's their $30,000 that they're putting
Yeah.
down. It goes back to that normal fan versus your businesses and stuff. So I think that's a great quality and outlook to have, and I hope a lot of people will look into helping partner and sponsor you this year. What are your social media handles so people can get a hold of you, man?
It's pretty much Austin Walters official across everything. I think Twitter might be Austin Walters 55 or X, but I don't really use it at all.
That's probably the platform that I like the least. And it's just because people were very vocal on there. I'll say that. I think I've mentioned that multiple times on this podcast. It's like one of those places that you log in and then you read like the first 5, 6 tweets
Yeah.
on your timeline. You're like, yep, that's enough of Twitter/X for, the week, probably.
It's good for news, Bob Populous or NASCAR news, but nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. 90% of your timeline is not news. It's always whatever's got people heated and commenting because it's so much on engagement there. Instagram's my personal favorite. And that's just because
Yeah.
I grew up with Instagram. It was my first ever. And it's just so easy. Plus, I mean, it's just pictures, videos, and stuff. And you don't have to worry about so much about the captions and what words mean at the end of the day. Where Twitter, it's just most of the time it's the words that are there, and people criticize those words so harshly. So,
Yeah, it's just negative space, and it's not good to put yourself in those places. And if I open Instagram, it's just gonna be racing videos the whole time. That's what I like to see.
exactly. Well, we very much appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you for going over. Very appreciative of your time. And we'll move on to the next segment. All right, ladies and gents, we are now back and we're going to transition from our excellent conversation. Can't speak enough about how much we enjoyed that just racing conversation with just a cool guy at the end of the day, a fellow fan of NASCAR who is trying his best to get into NASCAR, right? But there was a race this weekend. It was cold.
Yeah.
Shout out, the temperatures in North Carolina. Stellar racing temperatures, especially the weather.
Yeah.
Perfect, pinnacle. But you know, it probably been raining at Daytona anyway, so
Yeah.
at least we got the race in.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Blake, man, I'll be the first to tell you. We've talked about how much we hated that rain, snow, sleet race at Martinsville back in what was it, 2021, I
Me
think.
too.
Yeah, when William Byron won that race and it went pretty much green throughout the whole
Yeah.
race.
Tail whipping.
This race, even though the first 100 laps there was no weather, the last 100 laps at the end felt like 400 because of all the cautions that they were having. But if you take everything from that race, I cannot think of someone that was there that was a pure racing enthusiast that could not love that race because you had everything. You had your cautions, a ton of those, you know.
Yeah.
You had unpredictability. You had drivers up front where you're like, where the crap did he come from? The driver that won the race, you're like, where the crap did he come from? We know he's, traditionally great at the short tracks. And then you had drivers like, a Christopher Bell that we expected to be really good at this race, finished 13th. Kyle
Yeah.
Larson led majority of the laps, and he finished in 16th, 17th after being hit like a pinball machine about 15 times.
Yeah.
Unpredictability. You had fuel mileage concerns. Now, NASCAR kind of took the flag out of the hands of the teams, which you could argue that was a good or a bad thing because there was certain drivers that went in to get gas and they kind of got penalized for doing that because NASCAR said, hey, we're going to have a competition caution because we got all these cars running out of gas and it'll just be a mess or whatever.
Yeah.
If ultimately, at the end of the day, I felt like it was a fantastic race, and you had a fantastic driver win the race, storyline win, iconic sponsor in victory lane with Coca-Cola, even though the will not put their name on a diecast to save their life. And it upsets me because now we're being robbed of a Ryan Preece diecast
Yeah.
because of this storyline. All do what?
They'll sell the shirt on there, but not the make that.
I think the shirt has Coca-Cola taken off the car though. That's the crazy thing. It's just
Really?
Kroger. Yeah,
Oh. So they've got the car, but you can only see the Kroger part on there.
exactly. And the wheel well, the backside of the car is just white and red, and there's a bottle sitting there, I think, in the air, but it doesn't have like a Coke logo. Soda.
Yeah, that's wild. But well, you know what? Makes me want to go buy Pepsi at Kroger. Looking at that has a complete opposite
Or,
effect.
or Red Bull. Get you
Yeah,
a Red Bull.
that's right.
Uh,
That's
but
unfortunate. Yeah, man, I loved our time, man. It was condition wise, was it perfect? No. But man, I tell you, I will give kudos to the track and everybody who helped out, especially like Ricky Stenhouse, Ty Gillen, those guys. I felt like what Ricky was doing was probably like penance for what happened with him and Burt Myers last year a little bit, try to get back in the good graces of the Bowman Gray crowd, right? But no, I thought everybody at the track did a great job, did what they could to get the race going. And man, it shows you the testament of the fans who showed up. Was it a packed house? No. But I tell you, man, there wasn't much difference in what you saw on TV at night and the amount of fans who were there in the day to watch practice. That shows what kind of fan goes to Bowman Gray, and that's the hardcore fan, right? And so, testament to them. And I thought the track, so from a fan experience perspective, it was tough not having the merch haulers, the signings, all that. I also understand Daytona 500. They got to get down to that, stop for that, much bigger. Completely understand that. It's not their choice, right? I mean, the snow forced that, right? And so, but they still had a couple like official NASCAR pit shop merchandise things there, and they were selling some like driver gear there and whatnot. So it made up for it for what they could, right? And so the track, we were supposed to park at Innovation Quarter, which if you're not familiar with the Winston-Salem area, is about 5 to 10 minutes away from the track, and take a tram over to the tracks and then let us off, right? Well, we got there early and they told us, look, go park at the track. So from where it was almost like a blessing in disguise a little bit. So from where the merchandise haulers were last year across the street is where they told the fans to go park because they're not there. So they had all that open space. So they were taking care of the fans in a great way and said, hey, look, we're just going to send you over there and park. So the value on that was $10 more. And so, but you didn't have to pay the extra part to it. So I thought that they were taking care of the fans really well. We got there at like about 1:30 in the afternoon. My dad met us there, and he was rolling up at about 5:30, and they were still putting people at the track, which I thought was really nice. I didn't think he'd be able to have that opportunity, but he did. And so, just want to say thank you to that. The race, that last chance qualifier, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10 race. I thought the Clash was a 10 out of 10 too, but you know, we just had a local driver, a short track driver from Tennessee short track driver from Tennessee won the last chance qualifier to get in, Josh Berry. So super excited about that. But man, that duel between between Cindric and LaJoy and AJ Allmendinger at the end, man, that was pretty wild. And that race in and of itself had storylines because McDowell was looking like a force to be reckoned with at first. It didn't look like many people were going to catch him, but then they had a restart penalty, and that ended his day. He was coming up some through the field, but it just went green to the point he didn't have the chance. So, but Corey LaJoy and Cindric, you want to talk about a dogfight for second place. You could see those boys wanted to race later. It wasn't one of these where I'm just going to fall back in line and run. It's like I'm going to beat and bang and do what I can. And what I loved, they weren't in a petty way spinning each other out. They were just beating and banging. And it looked like pretty respectful racing in that manner, right? And I think AJ Allmendinger was in fourth place there, was trying to be really strategic and say, hey, I'm actually going to ride around just a tad, see if these guys are going to take themselves out, then slip right in. I think he made his move probably a little bit too late, but he shoved, I think it was LaJoy into Cindric or vice versa, right? And I was hoping, and it looked like AJ was coming in under the Cindric. So looked like he was coming in. I'm like, oh, could AJ get it? And it just propelled Cindric. But you couldn't ask for anything more, really, with the storylines in the LCQ. Thought that was good. They ran that.
Called it.
Yeah, they ran that part in the day, which honestly, from a fan's perspective, being there, I appreciated with how cold it was, right? And then we get to the Clash, and man, they did a pretty good pre-race for a Wednesday night showing. I thought it was really, really good. The drivers seemed to interact with the fans from their interviews because the fans are literally right there, right? I can't talk highly enough about how awesome it is to go to Bowman Gray and to see Cup guys here. I hope that NASCAR will make this a permanent venue for the Cup Series. And I know there's been tons of discussion, like should the Clash be somewhere else? Should it be here? I think Bowman Gray has a permanent spot on the Cup Series schedule. I would hope. I know from a fan's perspective it should. And look, when you get to the Clash and the race actually starts, the first 100 laps, man, that was awesome. In dry conditions, it showed like you had really two-lane racing. is how it would function. You were seeing some guys make passes, complete passes on the outside. Really good racing through there. Larson was kind of whipping them till the caution came out, and that changed a lot. But nothing too super egregious. You saw some tempers flare with Suarez and Bubba Wallace. You love to see that at a short track. They get to the halfway point, and look, the sleet and the snow comes and the rain. Nothing you can do about that, right? But they did do something in response and put the rain tires on. And I want to say for the fans, if you've never been to a race where they've had to put rain tires on, the crowd equivalent is like when Dale Jr. used to take the lead in response. Because when NASCAR over the PA system announced that the rain tires were coming on, every fan in the stand cheered. They were super excited to see that come on. A little bit of a bummer. It took them a few caution laps, realized they couldn't come, couldn't quite race quite yet, had to go back into the behind the field house. But once they were able to stay on, I thought it was really entertaining, and I don't hate them for doing that, right? I think if it's a legit points race, you might want to have the track a little bit more dry. But for an exhibition race at Bowman Grave, after all that you've had to weather, no pun intended, right? Why not? Why not? Let's see who can drive in the rain. I thought it was super entertaining. I know a lot of criticism was going on, like, oh, these are $1 million bumper cars going on. And it's like, well, it is the rain on a quarter-mile track. What are your expectations, right? And I thought it was a great idea to put it out there. And eventually the track dried up, right? And so some strategy ensued. You had fuel mileage that you alluded to. Who would have ever thought we would have been talking about fuel mileage at Bowman Gray, right? So the race, from a fan's perspective, to me, it had literally everything you wanted. And now I could understand, is 17 cautions a lot? Sure. Could fans be happier with less? Absolutely. But with the dry conditions, they only had like 3 and was able to green flag race a little bit. I like that too, just based on the conditions. So I thought it was a great weekend. The parking getting out wasn't the traffic getting out wasn't bad at all. They just did a really good job with what they had to deal with. And I ain't going to criticize them. We've talked about some constructive things in some prior episodes, what might be done just a little bit better. But it's nothing major. Loved it. I appreciate NASCAR for coming to Bowman Gray. They've been on this apology tour like we've talked about. And I know Cole and I have kind of seen this. Some fans who felt like they were left behind. When they heard that the Cup guys were coming to Bowman Gray, you almost saw like a twinkle in their eye a little bit. They're like, well, I'll watch that. And so it's a great segue. It's a great olive branch, if you will, to try to mend the brokenness there with some of the hardcore fans that felt disenchanted. Like I know my dad, for example, there were a lot of years where he enjoyed going, but it came a time, like a lot of people, it just didn't feel the same. And that there's a lot of reasons there, right? But he even told me, he's like, look, I love having it at Bowman Gray. I love that it's literally like right here in our backyard. I think it's a great idea. It serves the purpose that the fans want, right? With them being there. Now, sure, could you compromise? And if the Clash were to go somewhere else, take the All-Star race there? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that points racing is realistic, but on the other hand, it wasn't 10 years ago we were saying a cup race at North Wilkesboro, or any race for that matter at North Wilkesboro, was realistic. Right? It didn't look like Rockingham was going to be a realistic thing. I love it. The fans, even though the place was probably 35 to 40% full, you had a atmosphere that is hard to beat at some tracks that have sold out, in my opinion. So great day. I like that they condensed it. It was practice, qualifying, bam, 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 not too many big gaps with anything. So they did the best that they could, and I applaud NASCAR for it.
Woohoo! I get to talk now.
Yeah. Like,
My man's been brewing on this last few days. He's like, I'm tired of hearing this crap about bring the Clash back to Daytona. I'm gonna tell them exactly how I feel.
Yeah, because the fans definitely showed up.
First thing I want to applaud is we've applauded NASCAR and everything that they did for the Clash. I applaud the fans because you will not see a NASCAR race when it starts raining, just normal raining, where you don't see people flock out of their seats. They run up their seats and they hide for shelter. Now, Bowman Gray doesn't have a ton of shelter. I'll be completely honest with you. You got a couple bathrooms and stuff, but still, everybody stood there and let, the snow, the sleet, the rain. I mean, there was a dude that took his shirt off when it started raining.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they stood there. When I mean they, I mean we stood there. We didn't move from our seats. We just sat there and we're like, I mean, it's snowing, it's raining, it's coming down a little bit, but it's not terribly bad. It ain't no Daytona downpour like we're used to when we go to the 500. But they stood there and they're like, just another day of Bowman Gray. So what? And I applaud that. That shows you how hardcore and blue collar these fans are, especially the ones that decide to show up knowing that it's going to be freezing cold. I mean, it's going to be a miserable night, unless you, prepare, overalls and coveralls. And I mean, the amount of camo coveralls and overalls that you've seen, there was quite a few, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let me tell you. But I applaud them first because they could have just sat at home on their butt, sold their tickets, got their ticket credit back. And there was a point where we were sitting there thinking the same thing, like, 125% back on a ticket credit. It's not that bad of a deal. That's pretty tempting. Looking back, even though I stepped in a puddle, my foot was frozen solid. I couldn't feel it. I was sitting there kicking my left foot against Blake's boot, and I can't even feel the impact of the boot. That's how cold my leg and foot was. I wouldn't trade it for the world because it's probably in my top 5 races I've ever been to all time. And that's saying something personally for me. I know top 5 short tracks, but for me that's a very short list because I've never been to a ton of the short track races before they swapped over to the next gen car, which everybody loves short track racing on the next gen car before last year. But I digress with that. But we'll get to talk about Ryan Preece. That'll probably be our concluding point. We get to talk about and celebrate him. But there's other drivers in the field that we should celebrate. Mi amigo, Daniel Suarez, finishes in the top 5 in that Spire machine. I was talking to Blake about qualifying was going on, which was just, practice. They were running around practice circles and just taking the fastest time. They weren't, doing the one car qualifying or anything where they go around the track twice or whatever, which I'm fine with because it saves time ultimately, which we knew it was going to be freezing cold by the end of the day. So it worked out great. Suarez in that Cal Ripken's Foundation Chevrolet, new sponsor, looked fantastic, had great speed. And I even looked at Blake. I said, in all respect, I mean, we were at Justin Haley's first career win. Yes, it was a rain out, but he was still up front at Daytona. But I would find it very hard to believe that Justin Haley would be able to drive the race that Daniel Suarez did, personally. And yes, you can be like, oh, it's because of the rain. That's the reason he got to be able to go up there. We've mentioned multiple times that it seems like when there is rain on the racetrack, the true drivers excel. That's when you start to see talent take over and drivability. And Ryan Preece, old school driver, rain, there he is, wins the race. Got Ryan Blaney, champion, William Byron, Suarez, and Denny Hamlin in your top 5. Then you got Chase Briscoe just outside the top 5. He looked like he was going to be in contention to win the race early on. He was doing fantastic on a couple of those restarts. SVG on a oval. SVG on an oval led, I don't know how many laps, at least 15, 16. I think 15 laps because Priest took over at like 156 to 200. I think SVG led 144 to 155. Yes, you can say it's in the rain, and that's the reason because he's got all that experience and off-roading or whatever, but still, at the end of the day, it's a whole different race car. Like, it's not even the same ballpark. For drivers like that to show up, and then you got people like Christopher Bell, who we thought were going to be fantastic at this race. He finishes 13th.
Yeah.
I mean, that surprise. Kyle Larson finishes 16th after having multiple issues in regards to contact. Tyler Reddick, 2311, finishes 22nd, one car away from the back. You know who finishes in the back? Bubba Wallace, his teammate at 2311. Riley Hurts didn't even qualify for the race, but wasn't even trying to throw shade at any means because, I mean, Corey LaJoy didn't qualify into the race either, and he drove for RFK, but still, at the end of the day, there was drivers of high quality that struggled. And then we seen people like Austin Dillon, Briscoe, Suarez come up into that top 5. And then we ended up having a first-time winner in the Cup Series, a guy who's been grinding all of his career. I mean, I remember back when he was driving with Chris Buescher as teammates on a different team.
Yeah.
You know, struggling. I mean, struggling. And even back then, I think they had Kroger as a sponsor.
Yeah.
I believe. So it's kind of ironic how that ended up working out for Preece, really RFK in general. I think of the Velveeta car, that throwback Velveeta car that Preece ran for Darlington one year. I actually have a die cast up there. It's den number 1. That's pretty cool. It was awesome to sit there and see Ryan Preece win. And it was good to see authentic emotion coming out of the car. I know there was a couple people that were mad about, you know, the language that was used and how it got caught on the microphone. At the end of the day, you can't control what a man says, and you cannot control how a man feels. And when you've been through so much adversity, so much tough times, I mean, even last year, I think of he thinks he has a chance to win one of the plate races. He's driving that Kroger's Muffins car, and he gets swallowed up by the pack with like 2 laps to go. And you can just hear the heartbreak in his voice. He's like, I lost another one. To see that was so cool. And it meant a lot to me personally. And there's no faking on authenticity when it comes to feelings. And you knew when he come out of that car, and when you see he came out of that car, everything he felt was 100% genuine. Those were not tears like you would see at Hollywood. Those are tears of a man that has bled for racing, essentially.
Yeah. And I think, sure, the choice language on national television like that probably ain't that ideal, but what you can get behind is definitely the emotion, like you said, right? And man, I was so happy for Priest. You and I were there last year at Daytona when he had his second horrible flip at Daytona. We were watching on TV when he flipped the first time. That man ain't had it easy just by those 2 things alone, right? But also the grind that he's done in the Cup Series. But you knew he could do it. He's won at the local level. Every time that he had a really good truck ride, he won. Hence Nashville 2 times in a row or something like that, right? He won in a part-time Gibbs car for Xfinity Series, and now he's with a pretty good team, and RFK is winning in just his second year, right? I think first year you're trying to learn everybody, get acclimated, but then that second year is when you're supposed to go to the next level, right? And it's then playoffs wins that's really expected, right? And so he did that, and he's showing, like, even for an exhibition race, man, like, this isn't even a points race, but he was so stoked to win in a cup car for an exhibition race on a Wednesday that got postponed 4 days, right? 3, 4 days, right? And he is just in tears. It's good for the sport. How many times has there been criticism of vanilla personalities after they get out and win? Right. And you didn't have that here. And so I can definitely appreciate that emotion, and it's really good to see.
I also don't want to forget to mention that Hostvar did really good as well. He finishing position kind of got a little bit messed up because he got in a little altercation between, I think, him and Bubba Wallace at one point. Bubba Wallace spun him and kind of reshuffled him. Honestly, it was like bumper cars. It was hard to really track everybody. Zilich did a great job. I know he didn't finish in optimal position, but there was a point where we're watching him climb up the field in that blue 88 car, which, I mean, Trackhouse killed the paint schemes this weekend. I felt like all three cars were killer paint schemes, but watching him progress and fight throughout the field, and then I think he had a little bit of issue with some contact. I know him and SVG were getting into it at one point when they were teammates and they're, hitting each other, which is awesome to see competitively. I'm sure as a team owner, you're like, dang it, keep off
Yeah.
each other, hit somebody else at least. Like, y'all can't find anybody else that are like right beside of you to hit. But at the end of the day, I felt like it was a great race to start the season off of. Even though the average speed was about like 22 miles per hour or something because of the rain, that slew it down quite a bit. Margin of victory being like almost 2 seconds or so. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Ryan Preece showed, what kind of a good race car driver that we knew who he already was. It's just now that he has the equipment behind him and he's got the momentum started. And you got to imagine Brad K's got to feel great coming back this weekend, knowing that RFK has got
Yeah.
off to a good start for the season now. Hopefully, the momentum will continue for them. Chase Elliott won the Clash last year, and it took a while for Chase to end up back in victory lane last year. He eventually did, won some key races that propelled him into the playoffs, and I'm sure looking this year, I think they're definitely expecting 2 of the 3 of the cars to make it to the playoffs, if not all 3. And I would imagine that starting the season off like that was a good way to get some motivation in that RFK, which, I mean, we talked about how much Roush's legacy truly means to the sport of NASCAR. So to see them flourish would be good for NASCAR in general because, I mean, remember the main 3? It used to be Hendrick, Joe Gibbs, Penske, and Roush being that 4th. But now we're only the main 3 is what we usually talk about. We don't even group Roush in anymore, which is just a sad thing to say. But it's just the performance hasn't been there the last few years. And the reason why Brad came over from Penske is they want to elevate that program back to, the days of, rest in peace, Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle, got Carl Edwards, you got all these Hall of Fame drivers racing for you, which, I mean, you look at Brad K as a Hall of Fame career in itself. And then you're looking at Busher and Preece, they want to continue to elevate and build upon that program. So eventually, when Ford, has a couple more drivers in the pipeline, I'm sure they'll be like, hey, RFK would be a great place for you to go. Where now the Ford pipeline's like, oh, you're going to Penske if you're really good, at the end of the day. So I want to conclude with that and we'll move on to prepare to Daytona, man. So super excited. Daytona is always an exciting time of year for all NASCAR fans. So it's like the little meme that everybody shared in the NASCAR community, all the drivers. The big game, Daytona's in a week, with Dale Earnhardt pointing at the photo. Yeah, that's how I've always felt. I could care less about the Super Bowl most of the times. Even when the Panthers were in it, I was like, oh, well, at least the Panthers are in it. And then Cam Newton didn't dive on the ball because Cam Newton was Cam Newton back then.
Downhill from there.
Good times, good times. Tona, you got not just 3 series running, right? You got all 4 series. You got ARCA running. You got the Truck Series. You got the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Get it right. And the Cup Series. We don't have to say, Monster or anything anymore, especially since they won't put their name on a diecast either, but whatever. At the end of the day here, guys, we have a absolutely stacked truck lineup.
Yeah,
Stacked truck lineup. You got the number 4 of Cletus McFarland. You got the number 5 of Nick Lentz. You got the number 7, Michael McDowell. You got Caden Honeycutt in the 11 car taking over that ride from Corey Heim. Cole Butcher in the 13. Then you have NASCAR Hall of Famer. And I don't think Tony Stewart ended up winning the championship in points overall in the NHRA last year, but he was the regular season champion in his series. Number 25, Tony Stewart. Tony Bringer in the number 27 machine. She is moved. Number 42, a name that's iconic in motorsports in general, Travis Pastrana Number 45, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is making a truck start. John Hunter Nemechek's making a truck start in the number 62 machine. You got Corey LaJoy in the 75. And then you had the 88 taking over for Matt Crafton, Ty Majeski. That's just the noticeable, but you got people like Chandler Smith, Lane Riggs, all the Ben Rhodes, all these drivers that we've come to know and love in the truck series. But just those change drivers, man, it's looking to be a stacked lineup for that truck series. I'm looking really forward to that race. Probably most overall personally, because, I mean, seeing Tony Stewart back on the track is about enough for a mission if you're there. I mean, if we're being completely honest. In the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, notable drivers, Cesar Barcarella in that number 4. Number 5's got Luke Fenhaus, Gio Ruggiero in that number 19 machine. Number 30, Carson Ware. 32, Jordan Anderson. 35, Natalie Decker making her return. And number 38, Patrick Emerling. The number 42 machine will be Carson Hocevar. Number 52, Daniel Dye. Obviously, he's making a full-time truck start this year for Ram, but he is making some starts in the O'Reilly series. 53, David Starr. 55, Joey Gase. And the number 91, Mason Begiria. And on top of that, I mean, you got all kinds of new people. You got Anthony Alfredo driving for Viking Motorsports. Viking Motorsports has transitioned over to a 2-car team rather than just a 1-car team. You got, I mean, so much, you wouldn't say incredible movement, but then you have announced today that AM Racing is fielding 2 cars, one of them being that Daniel Dye machine, and then Nick Sanchez finds a ride right before the start of the year, which is fantastic for him. We mentioned last year how great he was throughout the season, and of course got that first career win, which is, shoot, it's hard to do these days. All right, now we are on to the Grand Salami, the Daytona 500. Open teams. The number 36 will be fielding Chandler Smith. Number 40, just a guy, just a guy that's won Xfinity champion, Justin Allgaier, driving for Junior Motorsports. Number 44, J.J. Yaley. 62, Anthony Alfredo. 66 of Casey Mears. 67 of Corey Heim. It's been announced he's going to be making 12 Cup starts this year. A 78 of B.J. McLeod. The 84 of NASCAR Hall of Famer. You may have heard of him. He's won a couple championships. Jimmy Johnson. And then rounding out the Cup Series garage for the open teams is the 99 of Corey LaJoy. It's probably the most stacked Daytona 500 that I can think of in all 3 series in years. Looking forward to it, man. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you on the truck series, man. Like, holy moly. You've got, what, 5 Ram trucks that are going to be there. You've got LaJoy, John Hunter Nemechek's in-house, all who are great super speedway racers. Tony Stewart was bad to the bone on the super speedways back in the day. McDowell, we were there for his 500 win. No secret, he's really good. My oh my. That should get a good amount of views. Cletus, the fact that he'll be in the field should be really good for the viewership. Oh, right. And I think Hocevar is actually in the truck series as well. Hocevar is doing triple duty this weekend and honestly has a good shot to win all 3 if he really wanted to. There's so many storylines. Gosh, we could talk, if we broke it all down, we could talk for another 50 minutes, 75, 100 minutes on just this. And then you've got the open teams. And good thing to note, Jimmy Johnson has got the provisional, so he will be in the Daytona 500 as the 41st spot. But man, you throw this in, and most of these guys could make it on speed. Front Row Motorsports, I mean, was it 2024? McDowell had like 7 or 6 poles on the super speedways. Easily could be that Junior Motorsports could easily make it in on speed. Not sure about the 44 car making it on speed, just in all honesty. He's come very close to racing his way in, though, so it's no, could be a spoiler. Alfredo's a good super speedway guy. Hey, look, I don't know that Garage 66 could make it on speed, but Casey Mears is a veteran. Corey Heim, do I need to say any more there, right? Definitely could race his way in. And LaJoy, he's in a Roush car, could get in on speed. And LaJoy, he had a good shot to win the Daytona 500 last year. And so, yeah, and he's got Roush power behind him. They're really good on the super speedways. And obviously, one of their owners is one of the legends on super speedways. Definitely, the duels are going to be a fun group of races to watch because right here are going to be the storylines for sure. And obviously, the duels, you got your 10 points that can be awarded throughout places 1 through 10. But man, I think this is probably going to be one of your more stacked open races in a while. And it's hard to, I don't even want to make a prediction because there's 5 of them on here who could easily get in on speed. And it's like, oh, I'm not surprised. And what kind of hurts looking at this is knowing that some of these guys are probably they have to go home, right? So that's going to be really tough. But love Daytona 500 week. Super excited. It's going to be an awesome weekend of racing.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about one of those drivers is you're guaranteed to have Jimmy Johnson in the race because he's going to take that provisional. You're not going to sit there and sweat that. But if there's someone that's going to push the envelope, it's going to be LaJoy. I think LaJoy is going to be one of those guys that pushes hard early. I mean, and there's really no reason to save much fuel in these dual races because they're very much a sprint to the finish. But I mean, I wouldn't put them past him. I'll save us a lap or two. I guarantee you these open cars are going to be foot to the floorboard, try to get up front and stay up there where they don't have to fight for position at the end of the race. So it's going to be interesting, 100%. And I'm looking forward to that. Last year we had a little bit of a controversial finish with the second duel. The first duel went perfectly fine. Bubba Wallace won the duel. It was great. It was good to see him back in victory lane. And then we had the caution that shouldn't have come out, or they could have waited to finish, or robbed Eric Jones of a dual win in my mind. And also Cindric won that dual race, which I have nothing against Cindric personally, but just it would have been cool to see Eric Jones get some momentum because that's a guy that you got to watch out for too at Daytona. We're talking about just a regular field. Eric Jones, great plate racer, very underrated, and we've seen legacy on this trajectory here in the last 2 years, especially last year, where we've seen some incredible gains from that organization. So looking forward to seeing what they do this year. And maybe we catch them in victory lane maybe once or twice this year. I could see that. Now, do I expect them to make a championship push? No, not necessarily. But would it surprise me to see them with the speed that they were bringing last year, especially at these intermediate tracks that majority of our races are ran in this modern age of NASCAR? I could see them making a run somehow into the playoffs and the chase. The new quote point system that we got going on. I'll let Blake take over the tire facts here. I ain't going to give you any history or anything because I'm just going to tell you, if you've never been to Daytona, it's a once in a lifetime trip unless you go multiple times. But I mean, you got to go there at least once. Is what I'm trying to say when I say that. Fantastic facility, and there's nothing like it. It's kind of the same thing when we talk about Talladega. There's nothing like Talladega. You go to Talladega once, you hear the song Talladega by Eric Church, and you can't help not think about Talladega. Because I heard it the other day when I was going through my Spotify playlist. And I'm like, I remember when we were at Talladega.
Good times were had for sure. Yeah, I'll echo that. For this weekend, for the Rally Auto Parts Series and the Truck Series, they're going to have 4 sets of tires for the weekend, one to practice and qualify on, and then 3 sets for the race. A lot of times in these races, the Truck Series is just 100 laps, so you'll see very minimal left side tires be taken sometimes as a part of strategy. Same thing with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. And then for the Cup guys, there's 14 sets that are going to be allocated for each team, but you got to remember that's also for multiple races too with the duels. So there's 6 sets that they can use for practice and the duels, one that's for qualifying they can transfer over to the race, and then 7 sets for the Great American Race for the Daytona 500. There's going to be some tire strategy in that as well, but something to look forward to is Daytona, the track surface is aging a little bit. So from where even just 3 to 4 years ago, left sides didn't make a huge difference, I'm looking to see this weekend, will left sides make a difference with the wear? We're going on now year close to 16 or 17 of this asphalt surface, so it's pretty wore out. So will left side tires matter is what I'm going to be looking for. No right sides will, but will left sides matter? Will handling be an issue? There's this understanding for the most part the Daytona 500 doesn't involve much handling, but the summer race does. Will the asphalt make the Daytona 500 more of a handling race again with the tires? We'll see on Sunday and on Thursday.
Most definitely. It'll be interesting to watch. And of course, you can catch pretty much all the races on Fox, I do believe, except for the Xfinity race, which will be on the CW. By Xfinity race, I mean the O'Reilly's race. Caught me on that.
And I think the be on Fox Sports 1
Okay, well, there's still Fox at the end of the day, I reckon.
for sure.
Most people got Fox Sports 1 by now.
Yeah, you'd hope.
They've complained enough to their provider that they need Fox Sports 1 so they can watch their NASCAR. One thing I'm looking forward to this year, I'm looking forward to this experimental truck series booth that they're doing this year, where they're not having the same announcer for the whole year. They're talking about essentially just juggling around a whole bunch of different people and transitioning people in and out. I think that's going to be really interesting. I really like when they bring the current drivers from the Cup schedule to the Truck Series race to broadcast. I think it adds a lot of extra flavor. But I'm also curious to see who they add to the booth to spice up things for the Truck Series.
Yeah.
Admittedly, Truck Series ratings last year were not terrible. Complaints are always had by any booth, but it seemed to be the one that probably got the most complaints overall throughout the year between, the Cup level and Truck Series and Xfinity. I think universally, Xfinity Series last year, now O'Reilly Series, CW did probably the best job throughout the whole year, especially given that, compared to the Truck Series, that's just the two comparisons you're going to make because they're both full throughout the year, no flipping over to an NBC or an Amazon Prime or anything. But I'll be interested, and I hope they can compete with the quality of the product that CW puts on. Because if they can do that, that Truck Series is going to be great to follow this year, especially with the Ram trucks. They have plenty of storylines, plenty of young, fresh talent coming up. I think they're rolling in pay dirt in that Truck Series this year. I really do. So I'm glad to see them spice up the booth as well, and not just the competition. All right, Blake. Well, it's that time of the year again. Of course, when we say that, we have a tradition here on the 4x podcast. If you guys joined the podcast during our retro race recaps during the off season and you didn't listen to us before, we do a spicy take before every race. We took the Clash off because we didn't have Kent and them here. We also don't have Kent and them here today, but I ain't going to let them stop me. They didn't give me a spicy take. I'm still going to go ahead and do it here. Spicy take for the season first and then Daytona. Last year, my spicy take for the entire year was that Noah G was going to have more success than Ty Gibbs and I think Michael McDowell. And that didn't quite live up to spiciness. That kind of ended up just being it's probably like the most mild hot sauce that you can probably have. Still not nearly as bad as Kent's. He said Cole Custer was going to make it to like the round of 8 in the playoffs. But my spicy take this year is I think that the winner of the points this year will come from the outside the top 10 of the point standings last year. That's my spicy take.
You
I
have,
think
a driver-
one of the guys do what?
you have a driver in mind?
I mean, you would think obvious people you would go to, and I kind of don't want to say it because I don't want to influence our championship picks for our pick'em series that we do. One guy that I would watch out for is probably like a Chris Buescher. Super consistent last year. Was running in the top 10, 15 throughout the year a lot of the times. Even at racetracks, you're like, why is Chris Buescher up front? He's never good at these racetracks, and he just found a way to end up being there. And throughout the whole year, had some killer paint schemes throughout the whole year. He had the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, probably one of the most iconic paint schemes of last year, with the Eat My Cinnamon Dust on the back of the spoiler. I don't know, man. I feel like Chris Buescher would be one that I would consider outside of that top 10.
Yeah.
What's your spicy take, buddy?
You know, we had an ARCA guy on, and I'm going to go an ARCA route on this. I'm going to say that there are going to be multiple races where multiple females win this year. There is a really good set of females in the ARCA series they've won versus guys their whole lives. And they're going to be in the ARCA series this year. I think of Taylor Reimer, Corey Haim's girlfriend, Jade Abadijian, just to name a couple, Isabella Robusto, Haley Deegan. I know she's not in the main ARCA series. She's in ARCA West. I think she's slated to have a few wins out in ARCA West, or at least one or two. I think you're going to see a breakthrough year when it comes to women in motorsports actually getting the win. That's what I'm going with this year.
I like it, brother. That's definitely a different one. Most of us expect to just throw it towards the Cup Series, but to do ARCA, I like it. It's definitely different. All right, your spicy take for Daytona. You go first on this one.
Well, it's not as spicy because I just said it. I think you'll probably have a female winner, but I'll do another one just to. I'm gonna say Carson Hocevar does the trifecta. He's gonna win the truck race. He's gonna win the O'Reilly Auto Parts race, and he's gonna win the Daytona 500. I think one of the few drivers.
Most
I think he's the
so
only.
most people call that a sweep.
Yeah, sweet. I'm gonna call it trifecta just for Daytona this weekend, right? I think he will sweep the weekend.
Sweep the trifecta.
Sweep the trifecta.
My gosh. All right. I say we see the three backed in victory lane at the Daytona 500.
That's a good.
I think. Been a bit since we've seen Austin Dillon in the front running for these plate tracks consistently. Has excellent plate vision, is what I like to call it. And when you think of plate vision, most people think of baseball. I'm thinking about home plate, being able to swing at strikes and pass for balls. I consider vision for this just being able to see the draft before it even happens, be able to choose what lane to go into, what lane's going to die off, making those calls that ultimately optimize your position to move up and not have those moments like an Alex Bowman who I think he does a great job running up front, but when it comes to taking the right run, he misses like 70%, 75% of the time. He'll take the wrong lane and get shuffled out. I think that Austin Dillon back in victory lane, start off the season for RCR, be great given, the way that the offseason treated them. They weren't expecting, the lawsuit to bring negativity, defamation in general. I think it would be a good way for them to start the year. But that's going to be my spicy take. I feel like there's, a good chance that he could do it. So it's really not necessarily spicy. But when you look at the caliber of field, even when you're looking at the open drivers, to say Austin Dillon's going to win it, I feel it's like spicy enough.
Yeah. And it's 25 years ago since Dale's passing. The stories.
Yep, that's right. All right, so we're going to transition to our Pick'em series. We will make sure that we talk about these to recap them at the end of the week next week. So to start off, we'll start with the we'll start with the championship picks. I feel like that's a good way to start, wouldn't you say?
I say it's a great way to start.
All right, so we'll start with Xfinity here. Austin has the first pick in the championship draft for Xfinity / O'Reilly series. He wrote Xfinity because he's a little bit out of the loop, boys and girls. He's not been on the podcast for a little bit here.
Illegit.
His championship pick, a guy that was super consistent last year, looked like in general points wise he was going to be top tier, so it makes sense where they're transitioning back to the chase format. He will be taking the Haas factory machine Sam Mayer as his first pick in the championship draft. So next would be Blanco. You had the next pick in the O'Reilly series for the championship. You have everybody is possible as long as you didn't pick them last year. You cannot pick the same driver back-to-back years. So who is going to be your O'Reilly driver to watch? Oh, man, that sounded awesome. I like that. O'Reilly driver to watch.
Give me Justin Allgaier.
Yeah, I kind of figured you'd go there. I mean,
If he's on the board, got to take him.
it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty easy to pick him. I have the next pick with this. I'm looking at the same team between these two drivers that I got to pick. One of them won the championship last year, Jesse Love.
Yeah.
And the other one is a guy that would have been in the running for the championship if he didn't make a hot-headed move against Eric Almirola, and that's Austin Hill. Honestly, man, it's so tough to pick between both of them because you got to imagine Austin Hill's not going to make the same mistake 2 years in a row.
You'd hope not. Yeah.
But you also know Jesse Love's going to grow as a race car driver. I think he's out for blood this year because he knows that everybody views him as a quote unquote illegitimate champion because Connor Zilich won 25 races last year and didn't win the championship. I'm going to pick Jesse Love for the championship this year.
Not bad.
I'm going to go for the one that you'd be considered the long shot compared. I think Austin Hill's the safer candidate between the two, but I think Jesse Love, I just like the dude. I told Blake last year, I said, if Matt DiBenedetto doesn't come back to the Xfinity series, he's probably going to be my driver as Jesse Love. So I'm going to follow through with that. Rajah, though, man, I do love me some Rajah. He's going to be running that 88.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I also like Sam Mayer too, man. There's a lot of good faces in the O'Reilly Series garage. Dean Thompson, great guy. You got LeVar Scott for Alpha Prime this year in the 45 machine. And just all kinds of great faces in the garage in general. But that's who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Jesse Love for my Xfinity Series championship. All right, Cup. This is a big one. Blake, buddy. Blake, buddy. You'll never believe this, but you have the first pick for the championship and the Daytona 500. Who is your championship pick for the 2026 chase for the Sprint Cup, but not the Sprint Cup, it's just the regular Cup? And remember, you can't pick back-to-back drivers.
I'm torn between Larson or Byron. I think this format, you know what? I'm going to stay true to who I root for, and I'm going to go with Larson.
All right. I have the next pick for the championship, and I'm going with Christopher Bell for my championship pick.
That's a thought.
I slotted him number one. If I had the number one pick, that's who I was going to pick. So being able to pick him at 2, I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah.
Alrighty here. And then Austin, let's see. I gotta go over how. He is picking William Byron as his pick, as who he put as his top candidate for the championship. Larson was also on that list, just so you know. Daytona 500 and Xfinity / O'Reilly Series race, right? Austin has the first pick, and he has picked a driver that would be a first-time O'Reilly Series winner. He is going with another Haas factory machine. Sheldon Creed gets his first career win at Daytona. That is Austin's pick.
Okay.
Next, Blake, you pick next. The roster is completely open for you.
You know, for Xfinity or O'Reilly, I'll take Big Austin Hill, you know.
Austin Hill, yep, pretty great race car driver, I would say.
Yep.
Especially at those plate tracks, he's kind of good there. Yeah, good pick, good pick. I'm next. I'm going Jesse Love again. Another good plate track driver. It's tough to pick against him.
Yeah.
Alrighty, for Cup, you have the first pick for the first race of the season. Who are you picking for your Daytona 500 champion?
Are we waiting until practice and qualifying this year, or are we just predicting it beforehand?
We're just predicting who you would think
Yeah.
to pick. We're not.
Okay. All right.
It's not set in stone.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify. Truly, for the 500, Ricky Stenhouse.
You'd be willing to pick Ricky Stenhouse with the first pick?
Yep. I'd be willing to do that.
Are you trying to throw people? Are you trying to throw people off of who you're
No,
going to
I'm
pick?
like hand on the. I don't have a physical Bible, so I'd have to say hand on my Bible app, right? I'd be willing to choose Ricky.
Okay, gotcha.
I'd be willing to choose Ricky Stenhouse.
Okay. Alrighty here. Man, man. Well, I get to pick next. Who am I going to pick? I say RFK continues their great start to the season, and we see the return of Brad Keselowski and Victory Lane coming off the injury in the 6th car. That's my estimated pick for the Cup race.
I like it.
Austin says he would consider picking Joey Logano as his pick. What a shocker. But he's won Daytona a couple of times, so can't blame the man. Can't blame the man. And Kent said he would also consider picking Joey Logano. So I would say he's probably going to go Austin centric if I had to guess, just by that logic.
Yeah.
All right, but we can do trucks now.
Okay.
Because I do have his picks.
Okay. Championship and
all right, championship picks. Championship, I have the first pick because I finished dead last in the truck series. Not a shocker. Last year in the truck series was not a good year for me. Was a year to forget. A year to forget. I got to play with house money here. Having the first pick and seeing how the racing was last year. There's nobody else that I would not. I mean, I have to pick the guy that I'm about to pick. It's Lane Riggs with the first pick. I mean, there's the only person that could probably compete with him. It would be Caden Honeycutt, where he's in the 11 ride. But you gotta imagine that Honeycutt going to the 11 ride is not going to be apples to apples. It's not going to be like Corey Heim 2.0 plugging him in there.
Yeah,
there's going to be some gaps in learning. I feel like Lane Riggs consistently there. He's got to be the guy to pick for the championship.
100%.
Yep. Alrighty here. Let's see. Austin would pick next. And Austin says for his championship truck pick, he is going with Caden Honeycutt and the 11 truck as his championship pick.
All right.
Not a shocker there. Kent would be next. And he has put down the rookie Ram Truck Series driver Butterbean McQueen as his championship pick. And that leaves poor old Blake with the last pick in the truck series.
You know, I don't feel like I have a bad shot here. I'm going to go with, you know what, to heck with. I'm going to go with Justin Haley.
Another Ram truck driver.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to move to the Truck Series Daytona race. I have the first pick once again, and I ain't gonna lie to you guys, I might have to look at the entry list because this dang list is stacked.
Yeah.
How the heck are you supposed to pick from this list?
Roll a dice, I guess.
Dang, I'm probably gonna hate doing this. Give me Corey LaJoy in the 75 truck. That truck's won at Daytona. I believe that truck won at Daytona last year. So I got the diecast back there. They made the diecast, so therefore he won. They did not make the Corey Heim diecast, so therefore he never won. LaJoy's expertise at drafting tracks, kind of a no-brainer to pick him. With the first pick, that's who I'm gonna go with. Now, second pick with Sir Austin. He is going to select. Ooh, this is a good one. I like this. Grant Enfinger is the pick for the Daytona race. That leaves Kent with Michael McDowell as his pick for the Truck Series. And that leaves Blake with the last pick. See, the crazy thing is he's got so much people to pick from.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I just said.
You know what? I'll do a 2-for-1. Give me Justin Haley. He's a good super speedway racer.
He did not pick one of the GOATs of restrictor plate racing. Tony Stewart was the fourth pick. Let the records be shown.
Yeah.
He went with Justin Haley over Tony Stewart. We will see if that gamble pays off here at the Daytona races this weekend. But super excited for it. Going to be great racing. And hey guys, appreciate y'all listening to the podcast. Make sure to check out our socials. We'll start posting some stuff up. Blake has 2 announcements, I do believe. Maybe just one announcement for right now. It regards some potential winnings that you might be able to accumulate very soon if you guys pay attention to the social media handles.
Yeah, guys. So super excited about this. Obviously, I've said on the podcast before, my wife and I are expecting a kid in March. And we obviously knew that last year. And so when it came for fan rewards, didn't really know what to pick because the schedule don't really know how that's going to look like, right? And so the fan rewards track that I was willing to get cup tickets to was Phoenix Raceway for the spring race. So we're going to give away 2 free tickets to the spring cup race at Phoenix Raceway. So super excited about that. Phoenix has put on a couple good shows in the last couple showings out there. Really good. The track usually sells out, so should have a really good atmosphere out there as well. No, it's on the West Coast, but hey, this might be worth getting out there if you win the free tickets, right? And maybe who knows, Cole? Maybe we might have a couple West Coast fans that could potentially take advantage of it. But super excited. Obviously, not going to be able to go. Our baby's due date is 2 days after the Phoenix Cup race. So I want my wife to be happy and I want to make our listeners happy so that I win doubly here, right? So I'm going to give out a couple free tickets to Phoenix, and whoever wins, I hope you enjoy it. We're looking forward to trying to do some more of things like this year because we truly are trying to build our brand and be as serious as we can with it. But we love our listeners, and this is just one way we can say thank you. And may the best winner win the tickets.
All right, ladies and gents, we'll announce all the things that we got to do to on social media to be in the running for those. So keep an eye at 4Wide Pod. We post a whole bunch of different stuff. We're a little bit different. We do stories at the racetracks. Also, one last thing for you guys. I want you guys to know that I am going to be working on the Bum and Grave vlog. I brought my camera, but the problem is my camera died 3/4 of the way through the night, so we lost a little bit of footage. So apologies there, but we will make a video based upon what we had. And next time, I'm bringing a spare battery because that is essential if you're going to a race. Bring a spare battery and charge it up. So that's going to be important fact number 1 for the next vlog that we do. But I will be working my magic on that hopefully here in the next little bit. But as always, guys, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for tuning in, listening to the podcast. Make sure if you're on the old Apple Podcast, if you're on Spotify, leave a little star review. Let us know how we're doing. Little feedback. Love that kind of stuff. And just thank you guys. We've been extremely blessed to be growing as we have here. We've been making content for over a year now. And at the end of the day, man, it's just great to sit down after every race weekend and just hang out with the boys and talk racing, meet some new faces, talk to some drivers. It's just a blessing to be here, and we appreciate all you guys. We will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.